As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why my Biz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with my Biz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discounts. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers in March 31st, 2026.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts.
Live CBS Sunday. Hollywood's biggest party is now bigger than ever.
Perfect. No notes.
The Golden Globes, with more stars, more glamour, more chaos, and more host Nikki Glazer.
We're gonna laugh at the celebrities that can take it and completely ignore the ones who can't. I'm just kidding. They're not safe either.
The Golden Globes, live CBS Sunday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Josefine Campbell, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for having me here.
It is a real pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from Copenhagen. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about developing your strengths to create a positive change. And that could be a change in your own personal life, in your family, your home, in your community. But certainly we'll also be focusing on your career and work and how to impact change within your workplace by leaning into your strengths. As we get started, I wanted to share Josefine's bio with everybody. Josefine Campbell is a distinguished executive coach, educator, and inspirational speaker who empowers multinational leaders, companies, and employees to unleash their full potential. Through meaningful conversations, she elevates client situations by maintaining an open, non-judgmental mindset, sharing data-driven insights that challenge conventional thinking, and emphasizing actionable outcomes that create tangible impact. There's a whole lot more I could say, Josephine, about your background, but I'm going to pause there. Anything you would like to highlight before we dive on in?
I just like how you made the introduction, and I like how you put an emphasis also on making an impact in your community. Like, how do you influence the world and people around you? I think that's an important part of it.
I do too, and partly I say that because our lives are meshed together. I think it's more rare these days for someone to have a job where they can just kind of leave their home at home and go to work and do their work and then leave their work at work and go home. Like, it all tends to kind of mesh together, for better or worse. That's kind of the modern reality. And in that kind of a situation, like, we have to think about the holistic individual. So as a leader in an organization, as a manager, as a supervisor, or an executive, I need to be thinking about the whole individual that I'm working with, because work is pervasive across all aspects of their life. And if I'm trying to help model behavior, and I'm trying to help create good habits, and I'm trying to, inspire, creativity and innovation and help them lean into their potential, that's not something they can just like turn the switch when they show up to work and then turn it off when they go home. Like, it's going to be throughout all aspects of their lives. And so that's a real opportunity for us, I think, as leaders to make sure that we're thinking that way, and that we're supporting people in all aspects of their lives, that they'll appreciate it, because they know they have a lot more going on besides just work. And then, we'll just be able to have better teams and better stuff, bring more value to the market.
True.
Yeah. Well, let's dive on in. And, you have quite the background around coaching and training and speaking and all sorts of things like that. Again, trying to lean into strengths, helping others to recognize their strengths. Why is that such an important kind of framing for you? Why is that strengths mindset so important?
Well, contributing to the surroundings and having a positive impact on people around us, not just, to be good, but also to move things forward. The best of ourselves that we can use, the most efficient approach is using our strength. And also, I kind of forgot, you asked me yourself whether there was something in the introduction that we should add. And I kind of forgot an important part of it, which is I used to be the quadruple Danish champion in Jiu-Jitsu.
Ooh,
Not
nice.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I know is big in the US, but Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, just like in Karate Kid, kind of more like Zen type of martial art, but it has very much to do with awareness about what happens inside yourself, what happens around you. You know, we can fight blindfolded because we can sense ourselves and other people. And we are trained to have an immense control over what our mind and what happens inside us. And I found that when I started coaching executives, though I've been teaching leadership at university and so on, I have a lot of theoretical and practical experience also as a leader myself. Some of the most impactful methods or approaches that would give instant effect would be some of the practices that I brought from Japanese martial arts into the world of leadership, which has very much to do about how you use your inner strength.
Well, yeah, well, I really like that. And you said a minute ago, like I think you said the most efficient way to impact those
Yeah.
around you and to drive change is through leaning into strengths. And there's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
research on this, right? So you have the martial arts perspective, and I think that's a beautiful way of thinking about and framing it. And anyone who has studied, I mean, really any sport, but particularly, a martial art, you'll understand, what Josephine was just talking about. But like truly learning to master self and be present and aware and all of those elements, and then leveraging your own strengths is just such a core part of it. But
Yeah.
zoom out, and like let's say no, you don't have any background in athletics or martial arts or anything. There's a
Mhm.
whole huge body of research around
Mhm.
strengths-based growth, right?
Yep.
And this is something that I'm so happy to have seen kind of shift the landscape over the last, I don't know, decade to 2 decades. I remember
Mm.
as a kid, it was all about figure out what your weakness is and then put your time and your energy into turning that weakness into a strength.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all the messaging that I got as a kid. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong. I'm all for people, having goals and developing weak areas and whatnot, but it's not efficient. Like when you think about like how do
Yep.
you really move the needle,
Mhm.
your true weaknesses are probably never going to become your major strengths. It's possible, and depending on the individual and depending on what specifically we're talking about, it's possible. But usually, for most people, if you have a real strength, a deficit in some area, you can work towards getting that to be not a weakness, towards being passable, be towards being something that's not going to be a distractor, to use Strengths Finders language, and make it something that at least you're competent in, but it's probably never going to truly be a strength, right?
It will
And,
never be a strength. It will
and
never be a strength. The way we work, we try to make executives aware of
yeah,
what we call their non-talents are. And when
yeah,
we work with executive teams, we look at what are the individual's top talents, what are their mid-range talents, and what are their non-talents, and how can they support each other. So what is one person's top talent might be able to cover for what is another person's non-talent, because there's not one person who can be it all. We
right.
all have some things we are better at than others. Everybody have non-talents and top talents. And yeah, so even like outside of the dojo scope, like outside of the martial arts methodology, we also use strength-based tests
Hmm.
such as the talent test we're using. And I just come back from Silicon Valley. I was just there where we had done the talent test with an executive team, with all of them. It was beautiful. They first they got individual feedback on their test, and then at the first workshop day, they would all present their talent story. So based on the feedback they got on their talent test, they had prepared a narrative about, for
Mm,
example, like why is innovative or reflective or troubleshooter my top talent? And some of these people have known each other for a long time, like they've been working
mm,
together for many years. But it would bring about new perspectives on getting to know each other and how they can collaborate and get the most out of each other, working as a team by
mhm.
using each other's strength. And then, of course, there's also a team view, so you can see the team's top talents and non-talents. And for example, what we saw here, they are highly technical people. Communicating was not one of the top talents, but there's one person in the team who has communicating as a top talent. So how can we make sure that that person gets that job done, because that's very important for an executive team to be good at communicating, to cascade in the organization, right?
Mhm.
So it's a wonderful way of working, which also creates energy and encouragement and engagement and progress, even when times are tough. Because right
Yeah.
now it's not easy for everybody at the moment, right? A lot of people
Yeah.
are struggling.
Yeah, and I really want to reiterate on that last piece, to focus in on like the importance of having wins to develop momentum and to build confidence.
Mm,
One of the things I just recall back to my childhood, and I that messaging about turning weaknesses into strengths. Again, not a bad message. It's just not necessarily going to be the most time, efficient or energy efficient kind of an approach. And, I spent so much time, for example, trying to, I'm a decent athletic person, but I'm not going to be a superstar, right? And I remember one particular sport that I was involved in where I just spent so much time and energy,
mm,
and it wasn't my thing, so while that sport wasn't what I was as good at, I was actually very good at a couple other sports. And it just came more naturally to me, and I was able to have more confidence, and I was able to get momentum, and I was able to grow and develop so much faster, right? Than the discouragement and the frustration and the embarrassment and all those other things that came along with the area that I just wasn't as strong. And at the time I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And that's part of the issue is when we focus on deficit, when we focus on weakness,
mm.
we're not recognizing all of the good that we have, all of the talents that we do have, all of the things that we do have to offer. We're only focusing on things we don't have. And like you said, everybody has certain talents in certain areas, and then they have gaps in other areas. That's just human nature. That's how we all are. And so I don't need to feel bad just because I'm talented in one area and not as much in another area. You just need to be aware so that I can surround myself with a team of people that we have complementary talents so that we can support each other. And
Yeah.
that in my adulthood, that was such just an amazing learning early on. It just felt so freeing. All of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, I don't have to be good at everything. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have, like, all I need to do is do my best. Try not to like totally trip myself up with things I'm not very good at, try to be competent, but like ultimately focus on the strengths. And that is where, I can see exponential growth even at times. I can get into flow state. I can all of a sudden produce so much and so many good things because I'm focusing on the strengths. And
Yeah.
and it's more intuitive and all of those sorts of things. And I think anyone in the audience, who's ever struggled with weakness and, recognizing their talents, you probably can immediately relate to what I'm saying. Like it's a very natural thing. And yet I think society as a whole, points to weakness, or things we're not good at as a real problem. And they highlight them, and there's vitriol online about even the most minute little issues that someone like a celebrity might have, or or a singer or whatever, right? And that's not healthy. But then we internalize that and we think, oh, that, I can't show weakness in my organization, and so I can't like let people know. I can't be authentic and let people know that maybe that area is something I'm not as good at. And then you like try to fake it and you try to hide it and all of those sorts of things. And it's just you waste so much time covering, instead of actually leaning into what you're good at.
Yeah, yeah, very true. And I, I also think it's important we say to people that if they have a hard time identifying their own strength, because sometimes it can be like that. It could be like early on in your career, or it could be if you lost your sense of self. It happens to people all the
Yeah.
time. There are actually tests that we can do that can help you. It's not like test is the golden key, or things are cut in stone, but it's a conversation starter. It gives some very, very clear indication. And the talent test we use is 94.7 accurate. It's pretty solid. It has a lot of data. It's pretty accurate. So it can really help people to see what sometimes is a little hard to see. Sometimes when you're really talented at something, when you're really good at something, you take it for granted,
Yeah.
right? It's like you can't see the forest for all the trees. So it can be a help to get someone else's perspective on it. And then, right, try to use your talents and your strength as much as you can in your life. If you use what we identify as top talents, you will spend what we call half an hour of personal energy to do 1 hour work. If you use your mid-range talents, you'll spend 2 to 3 hours you doing 1 hour's work, like 2 to 3 hours of personal energy.
Yeah.
And if you use your non-talents, so that means like if I have to sit in front of an Excel sheet, I would spend 7 to 9 hours of personal energy on 1 hour's work. And it's not that I'm not mathematical gifted, because I am. I had that tested too. I am very much mathematical gifted, but I am just very low on the talent that we called assessing. And less detail oriented when I sit in front of an Excel sheet than I am when I'm in front of a person. So, things like that can be very, very useful to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you spend your energy, right? And when you spend your energy and you act on things, how do you get the best return on investment? How do you spend your energy in the best possible way? Today, the most valuable currency we have are time and energy. That can turn into money.
Yeah, I think that's important, for everyone to remember, like time. Time is the scarcest resource that we have, right? And we spend so much of our waking hours at work, but we never have enough time. And then you start to bring in like your personal life and your relationships, and maybe a romantic partner, family, children, friends, all of that, like all, and relationships are the most important meaningful part of life, like in having a good life and being happy and satisfied with what you're doing and feeling meaning and purpose. And all of that takes time. Like there's never enough time. And so learning how to focus in on those things that you can, do more naturally, get into your flow state, like and really like you said, do an hour's worth of work in a half hour. Like who wouldn't want to do that, right? Who wants to sit in front of us, now some people love spreadsheets, but like let's say in your example, like who wants to sit in front of a spreadsheet when that's going to be like a day-long slog to do the amount of work that may take another person a half hour? Like why would you do that? It's such a dumb, inefficient, way to allocate work. And so, now that's not to say that we don't all have to sometimes do stuff we don't like to do, or sometimes you have to learn stuff and be competent in an area, but where maybe it's not your most efficient use of your time. But generally speaking, if we're thoughtful, we can design work for ourselves and for our team in a way that truly will leverage the strengths that they have. And your productivity can go through the roof when you do that appropriately and effectively. You get the right people on your team with complementary skill sets. You allocate work and design work in such a way that people, for at least a good portion, if not the majority of their day, is leveraging truly what their strengths are. And you'll start to see things hum. You'll start to see things just improve, and people will be excited about what they do, because nobody in your example, some people love spreadsheets. I want to acknowledge that, but like in your example, you don't have to sit for 8 hours in front of a spreadsheet that you're just dreading, and you don't. When you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I don't want to go do this today. I know I have to do this, and it's something that is just dreadful. Instead, you wake up invigorated because you're like, ooh, I get to do this and this and this today. And these are all things that really energize me, and things that I'm good at, and things that I'm going to be able to have a win today. And I'm help my other teams that I collaborate with have a win today. And that builds momentum. So all of this just goes, again, to reiterate your main point here. Like, let's focus in on the strengths that people have. That's how we're going to have the biggest impact. That's how we're going to drive the biggest change within organizations. And to do that, though, it requires self-reflection. It requires a self-understanding. And in this noisy world where we're constantly bombarded with distractions, that's not always an easy thing to do, to get to that self-reflection. Maybe in the last couple minutes before we close today, give us some ideas on like what you would suggest to clients on if they're struggling to get into those meditative or mindfulness or self-reflective practices, like what they can do to get there.
Well, first of all, regularity
Mm,
is is a big help. Um, Making change happen is not about doing one big thing. It's about taking a lot of little steps in the right rhythm. So, for example, if you spend 10 hours every morning, either at the same time a day, or, for example, just after you brush your teeth or something else you hopefully do every day, or if you spend 10 minutes before you go to bed, reflecting a little bit and writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or whatever works for you, in the same sequence or the same time a day. That is what's going to make a huge difference. That's going to change your life, but it's not big and dramatic. It's not like you just go and do this for 2 days and then everything will change. No, you take little step every day in the right direction.
yeah, consistency. Yep.
Consistency, yeah.
Yeah, I often tell students or clients that this isn't rocket science, but it is hard. And it's hard because it requires consistency and intentionality, and we're human, and that means it's hard. And so that requires self-discipline, and we just have to try, and we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna fall down, and then we have to pick ourselves back up, 3 steps
Yep.
forward, 2 steps back. Like that
Yes.
often happens, and then you get frustrated. But that's the
Yep.
reality. We're human. And so you just have to
Yep.
expect that from the outset,
Yep.
and a little bit every day, getting a little bit more into that kind of the practice of that continuity and that consistency is going to make all the difference in the world. So yeah, Josephine, thank you so much. This has just been a really great conversation. I know at the time I need to let you go here in a minute, but before we wrap things up, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, your team, and then give us the final word for today.
Yeah, first of all, I would encourage any listener who wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, where I'm active. If you are active on LinkedIn, please connect, and I'd love to hear from you. So I'll post regularly on LinkedIn. And then on my website, josephinecampbell.com, you can read about the team development work we do and the individual coaching we do. We have clients all over the planet. I have clients in the US, we have clients in China, we have clients everywhere around the globe. And so that, the physical distance doesn't have to be a real distance. And we also travel for team development jobs. So it's a lot of fun to work with
Mm,
different people in different contexts. So we enjoy that a lot. And there is a
absolutely.
freebie section where you can get some tools and inspiration for free. We also have a monthly newsletter you can sign up on where you get free inspiration every month. So there are lots of options. Yeah.
Wonderful. Josephine, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Josephine and her team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.